Conference, please welcome the chair for this session, Yasmin Dar, and the Platform Party.
Welcome to the Session Conference. Good morning, peace and blessings to you all. This morning we'll have the debate on tackling inequalities, including speeches by Jonathan Ashworth and Dawn Butler. Firstly, though, I will ask the Chief Scrutineer, Gemma Bolton, to report the results of the ballot for the election of members of the Conference Arrangement Committee and National Constitutional Committee, which was held yesterday. Is she?
Conference. Gemma Bolton, Chief Scrutineer. I will now report the results of the ballots held yesterday. The results for the election of the constituency section of the National Constitutional Committee to serve a term of 3 years. 1 member to be elected by all delegates to conference. There is no gender requirement as the quota is already met. Voting for the constituency section is recorded as actual votes cast. Votes cast are as follows. Daniel Blaney, 323,833. Keith Dibble, 69,224. David Llewellyn-Gardner, 12,403. I therefore declare that Daniel Blaney is elected. The results for the election for the Trade Union section of the National Constitutional Committee to serve a term of 3 years. 2 to be elected, at least 1 to be a woman. The 1 remaining woman nominee was elected unopposed. 1 member to be elected from the male nominees. Voting for the Trade Union section is recorded as actual votes cast. Votes cast are as follows. Mike Carney, 1,559,005. Douglas Fairbairn, 427,357. I therefore declare that Mike Carney is elected. The results of the election of the general section of the Conference Arrangements Committee to serve 2 years. 5 members to be elected by all delegates 5 members to be elected by all delegates at conference, 2 of which must be women. Voting for the general section is recorded as actual votes cast. Votes cast are as follows. Harry Donaldson, 2,148,906. Tracy Fassy, 2,226,314. Catherine Grundy-Glue, 192,865. Dilys Juvenat, 169,123. Lynn Morris, 2,192,302. Mike Carney, 2,134,934. Omolula Uwawasi, 214,918. Emily Rouse, 2,223,620. I therefore declare that Tracy Fassy, Emily Rouse, Lynn Morris, Harry Donaldson and Mike Murphy have been elected. There is no more ballots to be held at conference. Thank you.
Gemma. I will now read the results of the card votes on the rule changes which were taken yesterday. Conference. The results of the card votes are in CAC Report 4. Just to summarise, card vote 10 on membership of other parties. For, 24.16%, and against, 75.84%. So the rule change is lost. Card vote 13 on annual conference standing orders. For, 64.99%, against 35.01%. So the rule change is passed. Card vote 14 on constitutional amendments. For 64.06%, against 35.4%, so the rule change is passed. Card vote 16 on election method for deputy leader. For 18.59%, against 81.41%, so the rule change is lost. Card vote 22 on Westminster selections. For 6.42%, against 93.58%, so the rule change is lost. We will now take the report of the Conference Arrangements Committee, so please welcome the Chair of the Committee, Harry Donaldson.
Chair, Conference. Formally presenting CAC Report 4. CAC 4 contains the results of the ballots for CAC Division 2 and National Constitution Committee Divisions 1 and 3, conducted yesterday and as announced this morning. These are detailed on page 12 of the report. The result of the ballot for National Auditor is also reprinted on page 13. Nominations were sought yesterday for the NPF Division 2. One candidate was nominated and a full list of elected candidates can be found on pages 14 and 15. Today, the emergency motion on Butler Royal Liverpool Hospital will be debated. The motion can be found on page 8 of the CAC report. A detailed agenda for today can be found on pages 4 and 5 of the report. Conference, we've had a full agenda, including report backs on the devolved institutions of Scotland and Wales, but it has not been possible to table additional reports. However, CAC noted the points raised by our colleague from Northern Ireland, and this will form part of our consideration review plans for conference next year. The leader's speech will begin at 12:15 p.m, and delegates are asked to take their seats in the hall before 11:55. Delegates do not require a ticket for the speech. I hope everyone has had a positive, productive and enjoyable conference this year, and I would like to personally thank the staff, the stewards, accessibility stewards, security and venue staff, and obviously the police for their work during conference. I move CAC 4.
Thank you, Harry. Does anyone wish to ask any questions or make any points on the Conference Arrangements Committee report? Okay, yeah. I didn't see. And then this gentleman right this side. Yeah.
Sorry, Judy Richards, Brighton Pavilion, CLP. I understand the question has been asked in previous years. One of our delegates asked it again this year. We've got the annual report. There is a new section at the end. We have got no timetabled discussion or for questions on it. We notice on page 116 and 117 there are new reports that nobody's had a chance to talk about. NEC disputes, it doesn't say where the suspended members in disputes are, how many there are, who they are. On the NCC cases, it doesn't say how many cases are open. We have a member who's been suspended for 11 months. No allegations specified. They don't know what they're accused of. The people who've made the accusations have not had a chance to put them forward and have them dealt with. Justice delayed is justice denied. When are we going to find out what is going on so that people can actually move on in their membership as activists and members can ask questions of the annual report.
Andy McGivern, GMB from Northern Ireland. As many as you will recall, 2 days ago I asked a question about a Northern Ireland report and the lack of it. I accept what Harry has to say and thank Harry for what has been said. However, I want to remind the NEC I am not going away. If it is missed at next year, then believe you me, I'll be here. I call upon all the other trade unions who are sitting here, who have members in Northern Ireland, many of which pay the political levy. Let's get together in the NEC and ensure this injustice does never, ever happen again. We are part of the United Kingdom and we deserve to be treated exactly the same as every other region and every other country within the UK. So why should we be treated differently? I am not going away and I never will.
Good morning, Conference. James Flynn from Barrow and Furness CLP. Conference, I just want to build on what Harry just said, with thanking all the volunteers, all the people who've given up their time, and everybody who has contributed to making this conference a success. But in particular, I want to pay tribute to two groups of people, the stewards around the room, who have given up their time to allow people with disabilities to contribute to our debates all week. And I'd also like to pay thanks to the people up in the corner here doing sign language. They've been signing out everything that's been said at this lectern, no matter how boring, no matter how complicated. So, not everybody in this room needs them, but to those who do, they're invaluable, and everyone in this conference can contribute because of the work that they do. Thank you, Conference.
Thank you, Chair. I was the first delegate to raise this yesterday in a point of order, and I think 4 or 5 other delegates did as well. But I just wanted to reiterate the point while Harry, as the chair of the CAC, is here. I think there was a lot of confusion yesterday because there was a lot of people who wanted to speak on Brexit and Palestine and all the really important issues. And it's quite a confusing way of picking people to speak. And I think a good idea might be some sort of electronic system with the barcodes on our delegate passes, so that we could have maybe a computer at the side of the room and say we want to speak, and some sort of priority system, maybe weighting in terms of membership size of a CLP or a union. I think that could work quite well. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. I will now ask Harry Donaldson to reply to the points that have been raised.
Chair, thank you. To the last speaker there, obviously the CAC will give consideration to all suggestions regarding speaking as we go through the course of the review process. To James and Barrow and Furness, we welcome the fact that you'd again mention signers and other people in the room there who's obviously added significant value to proceedings during the week, and we welcome that. In terms of Judy from Brighton Pavilion, your delegate was contacted yesterday to discuss the specifics of the concerns, rule changes passed today, introduced standing orders, and the NEC report will be looked at as part of our work with going forward. The agenda is busy and obviously needed No additional reports could be added to the agenda today, but as was said there, obviously that will perform part of our considerations. And lastly, to Andy, we certainly have heard your voice, and I'm sure we will continue to hear your voice, but I gave assurances there it would be part of our considerations moving into next year's review. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. We will now take the vote on the CAC report. Can I see all those in favour of accepting the report? Thank you. And those against? That's carried. Thank you. We will now start the debate on tackling inequalities. This is a debate on how Britain is one of the most unequal countries in Europe. Child poverty is rising, and so are health inequalities. Labour will invest in the institutions of fairness, like our NHS, to create a more equal society. Our first speaker is the Shadow Secretary of State for Health, Jonathan Ashworth, but before he speaks, we have a video.
It's a piece of real socialism, and there is nowhere in any nation in the world any health service to compare with it.
Well, I think it's wonderful, sir. Yes. I don't think I could have been treated any better anywhere.
"70 years ago, a great Welshman, Nye Bevan, had the vision, showed the political courage to build a national health service, universal in scope, free at the point of use, covering everyone, irrespective of their means. The Tories fought it tooth and nail, but working men and women refused to give up the struggle, and so a national health service was established. Not because it was inevitable, it was established because of Labour. And in place of fear was offered hope. It was, as Bevan just said, a real piece of socialism. And it has survived because of the men and women who have sustained it through 70 years. So let us conference, in this, the 70th anniversary of the NHS, let us conference thank the nurses, thank the midwives, the surgeons, the doctors, the dentists, the junior doctors, thank the paramedics, the patient transport staff, the psychiatrists, the health visitors, the school nurses, the OTs, the ODPs, thank the pharmacists, the pathologists, the radiologists, the lab technicians, thank the porters, the cleaners, the catering staff, the assistants, the clerks, the medical secretaries. Let us thank each and every one of the staff who do us proud every day. And let us also thank those who have come from across the world to care for our sick and elderly, whether from the EU, the Indian subcontinent, and yes, the Windrush generation too. But instead of hope, there is again today fear. The fear of languishing on a trolley in an overcrowded A&E, the misery of cancelled operations, the distress at social care snatched away, the anguish when hip and knee replacements are refused, or the heartbreak when women are denied a chance to start a family because IVF is restricted. 8 years of Tory austerity mean growing waiting lists, beds cut, communities losing services, hospitals forced into a fire sale of land. 8 years of austerity sees hospitals crumbling, equipment breaking down. Austerity has meant we are so short of midwives that last year, half of maternity units shut their doors at some point to women in the throes of labour. Understaffing is so chronic, they are now even saying you'll need to book an appointment to go to A&E. I mean, how out of touch? What part of accident and emergency do these Tories not understand, Conference? It doesn't have to be like this. Austerity was a choice. So in place of fear, it falls to Labour to offer hope again. If a Jeremy Corbyn Labour government had been elected last year, austerity in our NHS would have ended, as we'd have invested £7.7 billion extra this year. We'll invest in general practice. We'll invest to prepare our NHS for winter. We'll establish a national care service. And to ensure we have the most up-to-date, life-saving technology and equipment, we'll invest £10 billion extra in infrastructure too. And when hospitals are left stalled, like we've seen here in Liverpool, we will step in, take control and ensure hospitals are completed using public money, not PFI. Now, NHS staff, they care for us in times of most desperate need. It's time we cared for NHS staff properly. We will deliver fair pay now and always based on collective bargaining. We will safeguard the rights of all NHS and social care staff from the EU and end hostile restrictions on international recruitment. We will expand training places, and yes, we will bring back the training bursary for nurses and midwives as well. Now, Bevan said, financial anxiety in time of sickness is a serious hindrance to recovery. He was right. So we will end the tax on the sick that is hospital car parking charges. And for hospital patients bedbound, sometimes for weeks on end, whose main comfort is the television, it's a disgrace they can be charged £35 a week just to watch TV. I'm telling you, we'll end these rip-offs and deliver a fair deal for patients as well. And you know, children and young people with cancer often have to travel far for specialist cancer care. But when your child is facing cancer, you shouldn't have to worry about paying for the train tickets or petrol just to get to the hospital. So I can announce today, a Labour government will cover the costs of travel to and from hospital for cancer treatment for children. It's the least we could do. You see, for me, patients will always come first. And as your health secretary, I would never abandon my responsibilities to patient care and safety. And by the way, I certainly wouldn't be pushing an untested private health app like this new health secretary is doing. It's so irresponsible, Conference. Because we know privatisation puts patient care at risk. Privatisation means patient transport services run by companies that leave patients stranded. Privatisation means GP out-of-hours services that aren't available out of hours. And it means a failing hospital cleaning contract that led to infectious waste flowing through a children's ward. And it means Virgin Care suing our NHS. Now, I don't know if Sir Richard Branson follows the proceedings of the Labour Party conference. But I know this: Richard Branson and his shareholders should give that money back to our National Health Service. Now, our Shadow Health team, they're here. Barbara Keeley, Julie Cooper, Alex Norris, Justin Maddis, Sharon Hodgson. We've got Paula Sherris and Glenys Thornton too. They've been campaigning. Give them your support, conference. We thank them today. We've been campaigning on these issues, but we've got more to do as a party. Now, last year, conference, in the debate, some of you may recall, you asked me not to break your heart. I don't want to break anyone's heart. So I can tell you today, in Parliament, if there is a vote, we will vote against Tory accountable care proposals that usher in more privatisation and cuts. And the next Labour government will end privatisation, will end PFI, we will repeal the Health and Social Care Act, and yes, we will bring forward reinstatement legislation as we begin the process of renationalising our National Health Service. And we will. And will block transfers of hospital staff to subsidiary companies too. And in the coming days, I'll join those unions like Unison and Unite on a picket line against this backdoor privatisation. Now, the creation of a National Health Service, it wasn't just about the relief of a mother's anguish who otherwise would have to pay for a doctor to come to the bedside of her sick child. It was about something really, really fundamental: equality. And yet today, after years of austerity, health inequalities are getting wider. Advances in life expectancy are stalling. In some of our poorest areas, it's going backwards. In our most disadvantaged communities, we see the greater prevalence of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancers, and stroke. And we know a child born into poverty and deprivation is more likely to be admitted to hospital, to leave school obese, to suffer poorer health outcomes throughout life. Place of birth too often determines length of life. We shouldn't settle for that. So a Labour government will establish a specific target to narrow health inequalities. And rather than cutting prevention budgets, we will fully fund public health provision, including sexual health services and drug and alcohol addiction services too. And because our ambition is the healthiest children in the world, so we'll start by tackling childhood obesity through ending junk food advertising on family TV and introducing universal free school meals as well. And to support parents and babies, we'll recruit more health visitors and invest properly in perinatal mental health services too. But there's something else we need to do. I recently met Rachel. She told me her story of trying to get help for her anorexic daughter. Rachel told me her daughter was sent out of area 3 times over 6 years to different hospitals including over 300 miles away to Scotland. She told me care was always inconsistent in a mental health system fragmented, understaffed, cut back, suffering from years of neglect. It meant a vulnerable teenage girl, desperately ill, left trapped in an endless cycle of admission, relapse, and discharge. I'm a father of 2 girls, and I'm not ashamed to admit to you that I cried listening to her story. We can't allow, I won't allow, families to be let down like that. So we will fully fund child and adolescent mental health services. We'll invest in eating disorder services, and we'll end the injustice of children treated on adult wards or sent miles from home as we finally deliver true parity of esteem for mental health services. It's long overdue. We're going to do it. So in place of fear, we offer hope again. And if anyone doubts it, if anyone questions us, let the message from this conference be clear. Because if it was possible, from the rubble, the debris, the carnage, the austerity of the 1940s, to build a national health service covering every man, woman and child, free at the point of use, then I tell you it's possible 70 years later to fund our NHS properly and provide the quality of care people deserve. So let us face the future. Yes, in place of fear, we offer hope. In place of fear, the hope of a rebuilt National Health Service. In place of fear, the hope of a Labour government for the many, not the few. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Wow. Okay, conference. In this debate, we'll be taking the emergency motion of Build Our Royal Liverpool Hospital. The main Policy Commission report we are considering is that on health and social care on pages 55 to 69 of the National Policy Forum report. We have also been notified of 2 proposals to refer back sections of that Policy Commission report. First, we will take the emergency motion, Build Our Royal Liverpool Hospital, to be moved by Unite and seconded by Unison.
Conference Chair. Ian Bruce, Unite the Union, move an emergency motion on the Royal Liverpool Hospital. Conference. Here in the great city of Liverpool, we're experiencing a scandal created by corporate greed, lies and corruption. And why? Because the new Royal Liverpool Hospital is 18 months late and sadly still unfinished. The existing hospital that serves the health needs of Liverpool is falling to pieces and no longer able to function properly. The care of the patients is suffering because this hospital, the old hospital, is totally inadequate. The dedicated NHS staff are being placed under intolerable pressure due to trying to provide first-class care in a third-class building. And why is this happening? Because the new hospital was being built by Carillion. The project was nearly a year late when Carillion collapsed in January, and no work has occurred on this site since then. Conference, when the building was inspected, inspectors found many serious structural concerns. We don't know the extent of this damage, as the Trust won't release the structural engineer's report. And on top of that, it was revealed only a fortnight ago that some of the cladding on the hospital walls are unsafe and don't pass the fire regulation tests. The Trust asked Carillion before it went bust, was the cladding safe? And the response was yes. But as we know, Carillion's management had a serious problem with telling the truth. The cost of replacing the cladding and the structural work will cost millions of pounds before it can serve the health needs of the people of Liverpool. The delays in the hospital has created a growing community campaign, a campaign that has been organised by Unite the Union, other trade unions and local community. The Conservative government, which was asleep at the wheel when Carillion went bust, have been slumbering ever since and failed to take action when the work was restarted. Well, this week, they've finally woke up. And as I've said, Unite the Union, the trade unions, MPs, the local mayor, and most importantly, the people of Liverpool secured a great victory yesterday as the Trust announced that the PFI contract will now be terminated. And rather than a new PFI contract, the hospital will be completed through direct government funding. I hope, Conference, that Joe Anderson, the Mayor of Liverpool, is given an opportunity to speak here today, because he has played a key role trying to win us this battle. But there's still a war to be won. We know that the hospital will not be operational till 2020, a disgraceful 3 years. And guess what? The spivs, the speculators, the failed PFI deal, Legal and General, the European Investment Bank are all going to be given compensation. They should not get one penny. They roll the dice. They lost. Now they should pay up. And any compensation must not be at the expense of the people of Liverpool, who have already suffered enough. And while we welcome this commitment on funding for the hospital, while we welcome this commitment on the funding of the hospital, we have had no commitments about who will build it and how the workforce will be treated. The coalition in Liverpool needs to stay together. The Royal Liverpool must be completed with direct employment. No bogus self-employment, no umbrella companies, with decent rates of pay for all workers, with unions given full union access to the workplace, and there must be no chance of the dirty, disgusting practice of blacklisting occurring. Conference, this week we should stand proud that the pressure of a united Labour movement has won an important victory. But Conference, now let us ensure that the workers who will work on the new Royal are treated decently, honourably and fairly. I move.
Conference Chair, Jonathan. Helen Firm and Unison, proud to speak on behalf of Britain's biggest health union and as a hospital domestic, proud to work within our National Health Service. Conference, Carillion will forever be remembered as a clear example of what happens to our public services when greed takes over, what privatisation does to our NHS. The NHS, our nation's greatest institution, and every year health workers support millions of our loved ones, whether they're at the happiest of times and at their most difficult times. We know that we're valued by the people of this country, valued by the many but not the few within this Tory government. They may say they value us, but they force us to do more with less. They may say they value us, but they continue to cut jobs. They may say they value us, but they sell, outsource and privatise us. They may say they value us, but you know what, Conference? The truth is simple. You cannot trust a Tory with our NHS. We can't ignore that they're the threat to our NHS under a Tory Brexit deal or no deal situation. We already see the American insurance companies circling around like the sharks that they are. But Conference, we've seen a new form of privatisation. Subsidiary companies or subcos where cleaners, catering staff, admin staff are forced out of the NHS that they have served all their lives. Our union has fought off many of these with success, including one not far from here, Wigan, Wrightington and Lee, where we took strike action and where, Conference, we won. And thanks to our strength, our campaigning and the support of Labour MPs, subcos have been paused. And we will fight on until they are stopped in their tracks. Conference, there is power in our union and power in the wider Labour movement. The NHS that we all need is within our grasp. Working together to get Jeremy Corbyn into number 10 will make that a reality. Conference, please support the motion, our NHS and our public service workers. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now consider the references back which have been notified to the CAC. They are both proposing to refer back sections of the Health and Social Care Policy Commission report. The first is in the name of Chingford and Woodford Green CLP. They wish to refer back two sections of the report. On page 57, paragraph 4, the sentence beginning, the NHS motion. On page 67, in the section on privatisation and the future of the NHS, paragraph 2, the sentence beginning, a focus of the Commission in future will be. Could I ask the delegate from Chingford and Woodford Green CLP to come forward? You have 1 minute to make your argument to refer this section back.
Thank you. Norma Dudley, first-time delegate, Chingford and Woodford Green CLP and Socialist Health Association. Moving back 2 points on the Health and Social Care Commission NPF report. Last year, Conference voted overwhelmingly to oppose the Tories' destructive 5-year forward view for our NHS. They voted to oppose it in its entirety, not partially, but all of it. So I'm proposing that the NPF report should accurately reflect that decision and that page 57 should say the motion focused on opposing the 5-year forward view, including, but not only, the Naylor report and accountable care systems. We also voted on how to restore and renationalise our NHS, which was as per and according to the NHS bill, so that any consultations with the wider Labour Party should be in addition to and not in any way instead of the NHS bill. I'm proposing this so that Conference's sovereign decision cannot be weakened. Conference, if you support the restoration of our NHS as a safe, comprehensive, fully publicly funded and provided healthcare system for all, please support this reference back.
Okay. This is the fun bit now.
Thank you, Chair. Yet again, there's not enough CAC reports for all delegates in the hall. Perhaps it would be a good idea to have them put on the chairs next year so that every delegate can get them and read them before start of business. Thank you.
Thank you. The second is in the name of Sheffield Hallam CLP. They wish to refer back the whole section on privatisation and the Future of the NHS on page 67 of the report.
Thank you. Ruth Milsom, Sheffield Hallam CLP. I move reference back on this section of the NPF Health and Social Care Commission report, headed Privatisation and the Future of the NHS, beginning on page 67. This report should at least match commitments previously made, but some of this language is not decisive. Conference last year passed a composite motion and a reference back, committing Labour to abolishing the Tories' 5-year forward view and restoring a fully public NHS. This provided a blueprint for Labour's next manifesto policies. This is what the report should make clear. We are not just opposed to privatisation, we are committed to reversing it, achieving a fully public NHS. We want to restore the legal duty of the Secretary of State to provide a comprehensive NHS. We want all contracts to be brought back in-house to meet the call that the NHS should be the sole provider. And we must commit to abolishing wholly owned subsidiaries in the NHS. We need to be ready to publish our next manifesto, and it needs to be clear and decisive. Please support this reference back. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take speakers. Over the last few days, I've seen everyone put their hands up and they're aching. So I'm going to start from this side. So people on this side, just for now, so you don't, strain your arms. I'm just wary of this. Okay, gentleman with the grey jacket. Delegate down there. Oh. I'll take it. Okay. Reference back.
Hello Conference, Shona Gemfrey from Bristol West CLP. I would like to refer back the section entitled Social Care on page 68. I'm a children's social worker and I'd like to refer back this section because it's not a section, it's barely even a paragraph. In a report called Health and Social Care and social work don't get much of a look in, particularly children's social work. The term looked after children appears only once, and that's in a health context. The term foster care doesn't appear at all. Children in foster care are some of the most vulnerable in society, and they must not be forgotten about. I have huge respect for our colleagues in the NHS, but social care and social work needs attention too. So I would ask the NPF to bear this in mind for next year's report. I would ask the party going forward to consider the need for a minister for social work so that practitioners and service users get the attention they deserve. But for now, I ask you to support this reference back. Thank you.
Thank you. The delegate with the blue top.
Conference, good morning. Mayor Joe Anderson, Mayor of Liverpool, and also Wavertree CLP. Conference, it's a great pleasure to speak to you here in my home city today. Conference finishes early. If you've got any money left, go and spend it in the city. Please enjoy yourself. This is a debate conference that fills me full of anger, but fills me full of hope. Anger that we've got bandit capitalism rife in this country, where local authorities, the National Health Service, our education system has been given Hobson's choice, no choice. If you need and want new facilities, you have to use PFI. With local governments under serious pressure and billions of pounds being taken away from us, added to that burden of government grant cuts, we have the costs of PFI. In Liverpool, in Speke, in the south of this city, we paid, or the taxpayer paid, £80 million for a school. It's been lying empty for 4 years, and I've got to find £2 million a year for the next 12 years to pay for an empty school. And then in this city, we see a monument to the failure and corporate greed of PFI. It's a mile away from here, and it's called the Royal Liverpool Hospital, affectionately known in Liverpool as the Royal. And we also had Ricky Tomlinson, a member of the royal family, who would have said, PFI my ass. We have an obscene situation where a hospital that should have been handed over 18 months ago has got staff going in to turn the lights on of an evening and run the taps in the sinks, and yet we can't use it because it's 80% done and 20% not complete. It's got cladding on it, in a hospital, cladding on it, post-Grenfell, that was passed as fit for purpose. What a disgrace to how PFI is conducted and the rip-off merchants that actually run the construction sector. We criticise, and rightly so, people having to use Wonga. We criticise people forced into using that. And yet PFI is the Wonga for capitalists who rip off the state and the public sector. I addressed your conference and I said that I was full of anger because of the situation that we face. And I want to pay tribute to Unison, my union, GMB, Unite, the MPs, the Metro Mayor, and everybody that's united to say we're not going to accept what's happening. And that's why it's good that we've got an announcement that it's going to be brought back into public ownership. I want to make sure that we hold this government to account, and that's why this motion is important. But we equally want to see that our workers, our workforce on the build are treated with respect. And I give you this promise, I will ensure that happens.
Delegate, can we wind up?
Just wind up, Chair, and thank you for this, is that no longer should we put up with PFI being in a situation where they're creaming off the public sector. That's why when I talked about hope and John MacDonald's plea to end PFI, but the nationwide building programme, the £350 billion that's going to be available to the public sector to make sure that we build a country fit for the future. We want publicly owned assets, publicly owned buildings, owned by us, the public, and by the state. I move.
Thank you.
Barry Maggett, Southampton Test CLP. Jonathan, I want to thank you for your brilliant speech and for your commitment to fully fund public health services. I would urge that we also make sure at a local level there is reinvestment in capacity to make sure we can deliver services at a local level, run by local people, for local people, with their having a clear choice to do that. A point I think I'd like to make about conflict of interest: can we please ensure that when we're looking at developing future public health policy, that we have a clear plan of dealing with conflicts of interest and how we deal with the private sector. Far too much in the past we've had the private sector influencing policy and decision-making, not for public good but for private profit, and we need to stop that. I should also just make a point I'm not sure if you covered. Breastfeeding is one of the most effective interventions to reduce inequalities, and we need to support that, and we need to make sure that we stop bottled food companies and follow-on formula companies from the unethical practices that they continue to pursue. Could I also plead that we have a food system that provides affordable, healthy food for everybody? in a way that is produced ethically and does not affect the environment. We can do that. It's important that we do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker comes on, I'm going to choose from this section. Delegate at the front here, the white shirt. Delegate with the maroon top and black jacket. And delegate with the red top at the back. Yep.
Good morning, Conference and Chair. Before I start, I would just like to thank Joe and Liverpool Council, because they were one of the first councils that led the way against the terrible sustainability and transformation program that's being imposed on the health service, and they showed the way there is a possibility to oppose it through the councils. My name is Coral Jones. I'm speaking as the Social Health Association delegate. I'm a Hackney GP and members of Doctors for Choice UK. On Saturday at the Women's Conference, we passed a motion which calls on the Labour Party to make a manifesto commitment to decriminalisation of abortion across the UK, including Northern Ireland. Thank you. Women's health and reproductive rights, including abortion, are an equalities issue. Abortion remains a clinical offence under the 1861 Offences Act. I will just repeat 1861. And it's... And the decriminalisation is removal of the abortion from the Penal Code, which dates from 1861. The 1967 Abortion Act permits abortion if two doctors agree that the grounds of the Act have been met. This does not remove abortion from the Criminal Code and was never implemented in Northern Ireland. In the UK, women have been imprisoned for up to 7 years, and doctors had restrictions placed on their practice due to the 1861 Act. In Belfast, a woman is facing possibly 10 years in prison if she's convicted for obtaining abortion pills for her 15-year-old daughter. This is due to the illegality of abortion still in the law. The 1967 Act reinforces paternalistic notions and denies women's autonomy by requiring approval by two doctors. And it's no longer really fit for purpose due to medical advances, and it excludes nurses from full participation in abortion care. After a great deal of struggle, decriminalisation has been called for by the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynaecologists, the Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health, the British Medical Association and the Royal College of Midwives. Decriminalisation does not mean deregulation. Abortion care will continue to be highly regulated and subject to the General Medical Council's professional standards and the civil and criminal law that apply to all clinical care. And decriminalisation will ensure that women in Northern Ireland finally have access to free, safe, legal abortion in their own country 50 years after it was granted to the rest of the UK. A woman's place is in her union. My union, Unite, has progressive policies on abortion rights, but the Social Health Association is calling on Unite and all other unions here to promote decriminalisation and support the Labour Party to bring this in as a policy, so that in 50 years' time, the young women in this room today will not have to come up and stand here and demand their rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Conference, Steve Jones of the Communication Workers Union, and also a proud member of Tottenham CLP. Conference, I'm going to address you on an issue that's very dear to my heart, and that is a ticking time bomb that is mental health, and the abject failure of this government to tackle what many rightly believe is a problem of epidemic proportions. On the 23rd of April 2012, the CW was holding its General Conference. The very last motion being debated was on the horror that is suicide. During that debate, one of our senior field officials informed 700 delegates about a number of members that had taken their own lives and the work his region had undertaken to combat it. He went on to speak bravely about the dark place he personally had occupied and how close he came to ending his own life. I was sitting, listening to this in complete and utter shock, having lost my own son, Alec, to suicide 33 days earlier. Every CW conference since has had a passionate debate about mental health. This year, we carried a motion committing the CW to developing a major strategy which will cover awareness, mapping, training, support for our reps, as well as engaging with employers and putting pressure on politicians. In May this year, on announcing that the first ever Global Ministerial Mental Health Summit will take place in London in October, Jeremy Hunt said, "When you look at the extraordinary prevalence and impact on people's lives, it is clear that mental health is fast becoming one of the defining global health challenges of the 21st century." The thought of Jeremy Hunt lecturing global ministers, let alone us, about the importance of mental health beggars belief, conference. The reality of the Tory hypocrisy has been exposed in headline after headline. Here's just three this month, September, just this month. BBC News. Doctors' mental health is at tipping points. The Guardian. Mental health issues in young people up sixfold. And The Observer. NHS mental health crisis worsens as 2,000 staff quit per month. The Tories foster a society where we are encouraged to be in competition with one another and rewarded for ruthlessness. Empathy and emotional understanding are regarded as a weakness. 1% of the world's population owns almost half the world's wealth. Society is more concerned with house prices than homelessness. Our children are bombarded with images that condition them to feeling crap about themselves. The current social, economic and political climate is creating an environment in which people feel alienated and stressed. In reality, we are living in a plutocracy. The likes of Amazon rule the roost and pay little tax while their workers face poverty wages and urinate in bottles out of fear. Conference, we do not underestimate the utter devastation of this Tory government and their austerity has caused on behalf of their class. Their cuts are responsible for much of the mental health epidemic. Conference, I will leave you with this. I was talking to a friend recently about the loss of my son, and he asked, with all your campaigning, what do you know now that you didn't know then? My response was, I didn't know. What I didn't know was it was okay to ask my son whether he was thinking about taking his own life. Yet when the police knocked on my door at 10:30 p.m. on the 21st of March 2012, I knew immediately what had happened. This will haunt me for the rest of my life. But let me tell you this. I will not rest until the inequalities and oppression that leads many people to desperation ends. And I will not rest until Jeremy Corbyn is in number 10 and John is in number 11. The only question I've got for you is, will you join me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Pitchford, first-time speaker, a family support worker and a very proud member of GMB Trade Union. Conference, there are few that are by your side from the very first moments of your life until your last, except for our treasured NHS, which is there for us all when we need it most. The NHS doesn't care how rich or how poor you are. It doesn't care whether you're from the north or the south. It's just there to care. That is until the Tories cut away the services we desperately need. They sell off our NHS to the highest bidder and deprive our NHS workers from care assistants to cancer nurses, porters to paramedics, the pay rises they so richly deserve. It's why my union, GMB, rejected this government's lousy pay offer, which has seen NHS workers taking home yet another cut in their real term pay. It's why we're standing shoulder to shoulder with the North West ambulance crews who've waited 13 long years for a job evaluation. And guess what, Conference? They're still waiting. So I'd like to take the time to say thank you to Jonathan Ashworth and to the Shadow Health team for their unwavering support for our NHS staff and for meeting with some of those North West ambulance paramedics in Liverpool yesterday. Because when it comes to the NHS, for every Labour member, it's personal. Beds at my local hospital in Bolton are being cut. Demand is increasing, and at my time in life, like many people in this hall, I worry about whether the services that my parents need now will be there in the future. Conference, the NHS only has a future with the Labour Secretary of State for Health in charge, a Labour government in Westminster, and Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next delegate, I'm going to go to this section on the centre right. The lady with the red T-shirt. Sorry, delegate, yep. At the back, it's a young delegate, I think. Yep. And the delegate with the red T-shirt on there in the middle, just wave a minute so I can, yeah, no. Yeah, you, delegate in the middle, red T-shirt. She doesn't know. Yeah.
That's a lot of red T-shirts.
Sorry. Conference, let me talk to you about inequalities in our country. At school, I was allocated free school meals and classed as pupil premium. And despite feeling like I had a somewhat normal childhood, because of this frankly irrelevant fact, I was therefore deemed to be less likely to succeed at school. I was born in the Northeast. This means my life expectancy is almost 15 years shorter than someone from the South. I had my first child when I was 19, making me a teen parent, which we all know means that this society I should never amount to anything or even have aspirations. Then at 19, when I was renting a tiny terrace house in an ex-mining village of Ferry Hill, whilst pregnant, my private landlord didn't fix the damp on the walls or the possible asbestos growing there too. When my son was 3 months old, between Christmas and New Year, we had no heat and no hot water because it wasn't a priority to fix the boiler of a working class woman. My temporary contract wasn't extended when I was pregnant with my second child because of a lucrative loophole in the system. There was nothing I could do. Conference, these are unfair inequalities to happen to one person. But it's worse. Now I live in the Southwest and things aren't changing. The school that I work at is worried constantly that Ofsted might downgrade them and they'll be taken over by a MAT trust. Comrades, I am a 26-year-old white able-bodied person. These injustices happen every day to people who are disabled, BAME, LGBTQ+, from all areas of our country. This isn't right. We need a Labour government to stop these injustices, ensure our NHS is fully funded, our houses aren't being bought by every landlord going, and that we can ensure a fairer society for the many and not the few. Please support these motions. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Margaret Tyson. I'm Wavertree CLP. Thank you. I'm here to speak about the national health. I was born in August 1949. I was so lucky. If I'd have been born in May 1948, I wouldn't be here. I was a 4-pound baby. I'm number 8 child. My father was a bus driver. So I'd have probably been put on the draining board and left to die. He wouldn't have not been able to afford private medical attention. Age 7, I had a very bad accident. The doctor said I wasn't going to make the night. I'm still here. February the 1st, 1986, prior to giving birth to my daughter, I had an abruption. I didn't know what an abruption was. I just knew I had a hemorrhage. Phoned for an ambulance. The ambulance come, took a look at all the blood all around me, phoned for a paramedic and a doctor. I didn't know it was potentially fatal, so I was okay. If I'd have known it was potentially fatal, I'd have panicked. But what I'm saying is, I am so lucky. I've survived 3 times. What's the chances of that? I'm here, and the only reason I'm here is because of the National Health Service, as it was then. Right, and for the photographers who are interested, I will just show you a little bit of my scars. You're not seeing all of them because they're personal. There's some of my scars. The rest are on my midriff, my back, my legs, and my face. That is how badly burnt I was. In the rules of 9s, it's probably 60%. Thank you for listening to my story.
Good morning, Conference. My name is Eloise Harris. I'm the Youth Delegate for South Derbyshire CLP, and this is my first conference. Thank you. As the Youth Officer, as well as the LGBT Officer for South Derbyshire CLP, cheers, thanks. I take it upon myself to highlight the fact that the LGBT community, particularly young people, are extremely reliant on the existence of a functioning National Health Service that will adequately respond to our needs. In particular, my concern rests in the fact that young LGBT people are more susceptible to mental health problems than the general population. Discrimination, isolation, and ignorance contribute to shockingly high statistics for mental health problems in the UK. Comrades, the longer we stand by and allow Conservative austerity to ravage our NHS, we become complicit in the unfair number of challenges faced by young LGBT people across the country. When the NHS fails to work for the general population, it is minority communities who are deeply affected and feel it the most. Coming from the rural East Midlands, seeing the commitment and passion for social justice by members of the Labour Party gives me hope for the future. Hope that I'm on the right side of history by being a member of this party. Hope that a government led by Jeremy Corbyn will support all minorities and that young LGBT people will no longer suffer in silence until it is too late. Thank you.
The next speaker comes on the platform. I'm going to go to that side of the hall. So Stuart, who's representing delegate there with the brown cardigan. Delegate at the back with the black top. Yeah.
Good morning, Conference.
My name is BC Oshindeko, and I'm representing St. Helens South and Winston. So this is my first conference, and this is my first Labour conference, and this is also my first time speaking, although yesterday I had a point of, but I'm so excited to be here. I just want to start by applauding Jonathan Ashworth for the fantastic speech you made this morning. I was actually at the policy seminar where you also spoke, and I have to say that the things you said, they were actually part of my highlights so far. Thank you so much, sir. And I really want to seize this opportunity to also add some, some points to this issue of inequality, because I don't think the talk about inequality will be complete without mentioning just these two key issues that I want to talk about. And I don't know if I've thanked my CLP for nominating me. I think I should actually thank my CLP as well for nominating me. So I'll just go straight into the 2 points. I'm going to talk about working carers. I feel maybe it's a bit of an oversight that even though some people have spoken about carers, but we've not really had speeches or talks about working carers. Carers who, despite looking after their elderly or children or relatives who have long-term conditions, they also work as well. I have 2 children with special needs, and this was one of the major motivations for joining the Labour Party, because I feel that this party is the only party that speaks my language. And I also feel that this party is the only party that can guarantee a secure future for my children. This is the reason why, despite the exhaustion and stress that I face managing the care of my 2 children and work, I still actually feel very passionate about the Labour Party. And I just also wanted to mention the issue of changing toilets. There is this very surprising figure. If you go to the MENCAB website, you notice that changing toilets in the UK, they're actually less than 1,000 now. I don't know whether the figure has actually risen. Just imagine having adults who have long-term mobility issues and they can't actually stand. Now, they have to be changed on the floor. There is no dignity in that. I don't think the talk about inequality is complete without mentioning people who have to be changed on the floor. And this will likely continue for the rest of their lives. Even some major hospitals don't have a proper changing toilet. By the way, a changing toilet is actually different to a regular disabled toilet. There is always this confusion, between a changing place and a regular toilet. So I just really want you, delegates, right-thinking people, to please think about these in your campaigns. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Good morning, comrades, and thank you, Chair, for looking at my and my assistant's hand this morning. Being a health professional, 35 years, is not good enough health service today. What Margaret Thatcher started, it is still going on today, so I'm going to talk a little bit about health inequalities in our total community of the United Kingdom. By the way, she was called Dame Thatcher. Can we take the E off and call her Damn Thatcher? Health inequalities are not given. It is given by the government policies. Inequalities in environment, inequalities in housing, education, not giving them decent wage to buy good food, good house, central heating. So the most important thing is The sooner we throw them out, we will have good health. And I heard this morning our health minister saying it, that we will tackle. It is a very, very, very hard job what they are leaving for us. But we are not going to say no. We will say take them out today. The different status of people have different effect or impact on their health. Talk about mental health this morning. Talk about problems in the health this morning. It is important that it doesn't come from given issues by government policies. If we can think what we can do, we start a child with good education, like Sure Start. They have closed almost all Sure Start centers. So how can we expect these children to get good education? Previous speakers spoke about women's conference. In that conference I was present. Everyone spoke about poverty. Not enough food, not enough money. Who has done it? Tories government. Take the Y off. They are torn apart. They are not Tory government. They are torn government. So we must throw them out. Marmot, the researcher, says that all society deserves better. Everyone deserves good health. And how it will be done is only by us, the socialists in this hall today, and also the message going out globally. It's not going to happen overnight. This mess they have made, it will take time, but we need to start here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair, Conference, good morning. Councillor Elizabeth Baptiste, representing BAME Labour, speaking on the section of the National Policy Forum report, Creating a More Equal Society. Conference, Britain remains one of the most unequal countries in the developed world. There are deep levels of inequalities in our communities. Many families are struggling to make ends meet. In work, poverty is at a record high. Levels of real wages are lower today than 10 years ago. The government's policy and austerity measures have widened the gap between rich and poor. Pay gaps are increasing. The gender pay gap, the racial pay gap, and the disability pay gap are widening. And income inequality between those on top rates of pay and the lowest paid is getting wider. Labour has a proud record of leading the right for equality, the fight for equality, tackling inequality and fighting discrimination in all its forms. The Tories' austerity policies are having a devastating impact on women, black workers, young people and black communities. Conference, we should be alarmed that black employment levels are rising at a rate faster than any time in a generation, freezing many black workers out of the labour market, employment opportunities, access to higher education and decent housing. Social mobility is now at an all-time low. Levels of inequality are rising, and this is becoming more acute as many families plunge deeper into poverty, made worse as disproportionate gaps in economic and social indicators continue to widen. These are very worrying patterns. It is very disappointing that the government's approach has been to weaken specific equality duties, abolishing the requirements to carry out an equality impact assessment prior to making changes to procedures, policies and practices. The poorest part of the population have borne the brunt of Britain's shrinking wage. As a response, we need an enforced living wage and crack down on executive pay. Households struggle with essentials like fuel and food. Communities suffer as services are cut, and business and the economy suffer as people fail to spend their decreasing income. Importantly, Equality should not be sacrificed in times of austerity. Conference, in recent years, equality has fallen below the radar and off the political agenda. Conference, BAME Labour calls on our party to implement in full the provisions of the Equality Act 2010 to bring in the socio-economic duty to restore third-party harassment and root out discrimination and sexual harassment in society. Conference, please support. Thank you.
Before the last speaker in this section comes on, I'm going to go over to the far left. Didn't mean it like that. Okay. The steward representing someone. Okay.
Your far left is their far right.
Yeah, sorry, my far left. Yeah. Okay, well, however you want to take that. The delegate with the book and the yellow top. The delegate with the red top. Okay. Delegates, I'm doing it this way because we've had so many people complain about arm ache and having their hands up for hours and hours. So I'm doing it in sections, so I'll be on this bit next. So,
hello. Patricia Heatherton, Coventry Northwest CLP, Coventry City of Culture in 2021. Let's hear it for them. Former Unison staff worker, regional officer. I had a dream conference, and I've sat here this morning and I've heard that dream realised, and it's a dream I have to thank Jonathan for, because we've got somebody who's going to lead us on health, and hopefully the next health secretary, saying all the things we've longed to hear for so long. And you know, it's something about the privatisation, it's about nurse bursaries, it's about everything that we know has gone on in the health service all these years under the Tories, and Jonathan is about to change all that, hopefully. I worked in mental health services most of my life, a whole lifetime it seemed. We closed the old mental health institutions, the facilities. We filled the prisons, now we're filling the streets, because most of the people on the streets are suffering with mental health problems, drug addiction, and other addictions. There is an absolute crisis in suicides with young males. We know that everything that we hear, the universities, there is probably not even the numbers that we can refer to, where young people are attempting suicide, and young women in particular self-harming. There is a crisis in mental health services, and when I was elected a councillor back in 2011 in Coventry, I remember sitting on the Health Scrutiny Board and listening to them saying then about the crisis that we had. Well, nothing has changed. I'm back now. I got elected last May, and I'm back now. And I sat there last week, and I heard the chief executive of the STP saying to us, can't defend the indefensible. There is a crisis in mental health and children's services. I've been lucky enough to see the difference it makes with early intervention in children's services, where families have been helped and they've had psychology input. The whole problem has been dealt with in a holistic way. The difference that makes is unbelievable. Now I know that the police are the first responders for people with mental health problems. The crisis teams, they aren't there at times. There are not enough of them. There are not enough early intervention services. There are not enough out of hours. I sat with an extended family member in A&E department some time ago, and they were having a psychotic episode. They're expected to sit there for 6 hours, same as anybody else with a medical problem. It shouldn't be this way. There are liaison nurses in there, but they are so busy that, you know, they actually can't get to that person. And then when that person walks out, and then you have to deal with what's going to happen to them because they can't sit there for the 6 hours. It is just not good enough. It is the inequality that we raised, and what we need to do is not treat people with mental health services as second-class citizens. I move.
Hello, conference panel. I am Suzette Watson, and I'm from Banbury and Bicester CLP. Hello. First-time delegate and first-time speaker. I'd just like to speak just to the NHS. My mum was born just before the war. She suffered every childhood illness that was going. And she was lucky enough because her parents at the time were wealthy enough to afford a doctor and healthcare. She was then one of the first nurses to be trained in the NHS. It was the only thing she wanted to do. If she could have been a doctor at the time, talking of inequalities, she would have been. But she went into health because she felt that what she needed to do was work in all the communities to ensure that everybody had access to good health. From her own experience as a child during the war and her own experience of her father, who was a socialist, even though he came from a family who had no interest in helping others. So that was very much at her core. She became disabled. She had a very terrible condition as she got older in her nursing career, and she had to retire early. And she wanted to come back home because actually her excellent training in the NHS had allowed her to travel over to the United States and work in one of the largest public health hospitals in the world, in New York. And she was dedicated to public health in that entire time. She was able to come back and be served by the NHS, which she had given so much to. She was able to come back and be cared for, free at point of use, through her entire illness, which lasted for over 30 years. And then she was able to die with dignity in the NHS, in our local Horton Hospital, and then subsequently taken care of by the Catherine House Hospice. Now, our Horton Hospital in Banbury is threatened. Our maternity unit is closed. That's where I had my son. That's where I had an emergency cesarean, where I would have died and my son would have died had not those excellent NHS workers and maternity workers been available. And it is a disgrace that mothers now don't have access to that same care, that our Horton Hospital, as many other hospitals and trusts throughout our nations, are threatened. That is inequality. When you do not have access to health, how can we be equal? When we cannot be well, how can we thrive? It is essential that we do everything to back bringing a Labour government led by Jeremy Corbyn and by the excellent shadow cabinet, who should be the real cabinet and the real government as soon as humanly possible, so that no one else has to suffer through the inequality of ill health and no one else has to be shut out from fully participating. Thank you, conference. Thank you.
Good morning, conference. Good morning, comrades. My name's Erica Davis. I'm from Oxford West in Abingdon, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Thank you, Chair, for calling people from the far left up this morning. I do appreciate it so much. I'd like to say that we have a wonderful NHS service, don't we? A remarkable NHS service, and as an inpatient myself with a long-term illness and disability, I so appreciate the care and the commitment of the dedicated staff that have kept me alive. In 1980, 38 years ago, the Black Report was published. It talked about health inequalities. The focus was on health inequality. It was published over a bank holiday weekend by the Thatcher government. She tried to suppress that report. Do you remember it? She tried to kick it into touch because it found that there was so much health inequalities in the UK, and that was because of economic inequality. Dr. Julian Tudor Hart, somebody who was committed as a GP in Glencorrwg, who worked around health inequalities right up until virtually the end of his life, said of the Black Report that the health service was inverted. It was back to front and upside down. Our health service today is not inverted, but our government is. It's back to front and upside down. And we need to kick it into touch. And Jeremy needs to go into number 10, and he needs to go in quick. Thank you, Jonathan, for such an impassioned, such a wonderful speech. You're going to be a wonderful health minister. There's no doubt in my mind about that. We have to stop austerity. We have to stop it now. We have to put health promotion at the top of our agenda, not at the bottom where it is. I live in a city where if you happen to live in the north of the city, you're going to live far more longer than if you live in the likes of Blackbird Leys. Why should that be the case? We've got to put an end to this, and an end to this we will. Thank you.
The next delegate, you're all ready for this. Just for the next delegate speaks, I'm going to take 3 delegates from this section. So, Steward, whoever you're representing. It's getting harder and harder. Delegate with the blue shirt. And the delegate with the black t-shirt, blonde hair. Okay. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Hello, conference. My name is Gwyn Rees, and I'm the delegate from Eastleigh. I just want to say quickly, I'm also in favour of the emergency motion. I want to speak why it's important that we end cuts and privatisation of healthcare, specifically the chronic underfunding of mental health provision in my local area. I want to be slightly cheeky as well. First conference, I want to offer my support and solidarity to workers in my community from Prismium Cables Eastleigh, who are on strike today after their bosses offered them a real terms pay cut. Solidarity. Thank you. But now I do want to talk on mental health, and I'm going to talk about my own experiences in the mental health system to try and illustrate how horrible it has been. There is a lack of integrated services. I've been on a waiting list before in one area for 12 months for therapy, and then I moved 1 mile down the road because my tenancy ended, and now I was in a different trust, and that means I was back to the bottom of the waiting list for another 12 months. Insecure housing leads to insecure care. There is a collapse. Thank you. There is a collapse of crisis support. Overnight, the emergency number is a mobile phone held by 2 people whilst they're already working, trying to help people. If you're in crisis, if you're suicidal, if you can't cope with what's going on, you call them and they're unable to help. All they can offer you is to make a cup of tea and that they might be able to call you back tomorrow. As often as not, they don't call you back. Complex conditions are ignored. If you're on a waiting list for therapy for something like depression, and you might develop another set of problems, such as an eating disorder, you're denied any access to any other type of mental health support. This would be considered immoral, if not illegal, if it was for any other physical condition. Thank you. Theresa May claims she wants parity with physical health to mental health. I despair for those with physical health conditions if this is her type of offering for mental health. Talking is not enough. Friends and loved ones are not therapists. They are not often able to help, and they are burdened with further guilt when talking did not help. We need to return to the principles of the NHS for mental health, comprehensive, well-funded, therapeutic help for all. Thank you very much, conference. Thank you.
Hello, conference. My name's Nicola Morrison. I'm from Berwick CLP. I'm a delegate. I've been a delegate before, but this is my first time speaking. I've been trying to get up here for days, and nobody's taken any notes of me, so thank you for picking me. But if we're talking about inequality, we need to talk about joint-up thinking. At the moment, the welfare state, all of it, and the education, the National Health Service, is that it's not well, it's not fair, and it's in a right old state. We really need to enforce the Equality Act for disadvantaged groups. We've been talking about BAM, we've been talking about disabled people, but a lot more work needs to be done on all the policies that we've been listening about, because it doesn't actually talk about how it's going to be implemented. My own story, I had a brain hemorrhage when I was 8 years old, and at the time, in 1980, I died on the brain scan machine, and the doctors told my mum to turn the machine off because there wasn't any hope. Thankfully, my mum didn't listen, and after I recovered, there was physiotherapy, there was speech therapy, there was occupational therapy, all in place when I needed it. I'm thankful forever to the NHS and all the other services that came with it. Fast forward 30 years, and my dad had health problems. He went in for an operation at King's College Hospital in London, and he had a problem called von Willebrand syndrome, where his blood didn't clot. It was a bit like haemophilia, and there was lots of pre-op stuff, but because of the cuts, he was not taken care of properly, and his blood doesn't clot, so they had to do pre-op to make sure he didn't get too much clotting agent, because he would die, but if they didn't give him enough, he would bleed. But because of the cuts, he was not put in high dependency after the hospital, after the operation. He was put in just a side ward, so he wasn't monitored properly. And as a result, he died 2 days later because he wasn't sewn up properly, and because he had von Willebrand, it just bled out. So, as we're talking about inequality, I would like you to go back to your constituencies, to go back to everybody that's criticising a possible Labour government in whichever direction it takes, nationalisation, privatisation, whatever, and just say, what would it actually take for you to take ownership of this National Health Service, which is ours, this welfare state, which is ours? What will it take? How many more tragedies do we need to go through before you just rubbish the Tory austerity plan? One thing I need to say before I go is I was speaking to a Grenfell survivor at the weekend, much respect, and she said the crime is in the policy, and the policy makers are policing themselves. So if nothing else, you need to take note of that. No matter what the policy is that we've been talking about, we need to take ownership.
Thank you. Thank you. Chair, Congress,
Fran Robson, first-time delegate and first-time speaker. Conference. I did not intend to speak, as you can see from my relaxed attire. I'm a G&B convener within a local authority, and it's a role I've held since 2010. Prior to that, I worked for Children's Services. Congress. There can be no doubt the Tories have carved up the NHS. They gave responsibility for the majority of public health prevention to local authorities. Congress, you may not think this was a bad idea. However, the Tories did this and then decimated local authority funding. What has this meant? This has meant a reduction to sexual health services, health check programmes, national child measurements, public health advice on obesity, physical activity, substance misuse, and the 5 to 18 health check programmes. Congress, this is an outrage that funding to ill health prevention has been slashed. As our society, our health is declining and our life expectancy has stalled. It makes sense that our NHS should focus on the treatment and also prevention of ill health. Please support Labour to not only increase life expectancy, but to increase the quality of life for all.
Before the next speaker, I'm going to take 3 more delegates from the section. I'm not going to say anything now, from this section on this side. Delegate with the red top. Delegate with the yellow top. And the back. Delegate with the white top and yep. Okay, delegate.
Good morning, Conference. Paul McNally, Secretary, Glasgow Kelvin CLP, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Conference, life expectancy inequalities in Glasgow are amongst the worst in the world. We have both the greatest longevity and the shortest life expectancies in the world, sitting side by side, often in the same council ward. Yesterday it was announced that Scottish life expectancy fell for the first time in 35 years. It fell for both men and women. In 2013, Scottish Labour commissioned a report from the Socialist Health Association. They state, inequalities in the distribution of income, wealth and power manifest most obviously in how long people live, how healthy and well their lives are lived. Health inequalities are not just about health services and not just about lifestyles or behaviours. They are about justice. We believe that health inequalities are an infringement on our human rights. To prepare for government, we have already selected our Westminster candidate, and from an all-women shortlist, I'm delighted to say we chose Pam Duncan-Glancy, a determined disability activist and socialist. We believe she is the person to win back Glasgow North. To the CLP delegates, if you want to know who has the skills and training to fight poverty and to organise communities, to spearhead equality, then speak to the trade union delegates in the hall. They've 150 years of doing that. They've been doing it since before this party existed. I have to say, we fight together for the most basic human rights. We fight for those that need to know that they are not alone. We fight for universal equality. We fight as socialists because we know that life should not be a fight for basic human rights. Thank you, Conference. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Conference, Joyce Still speaking on behalf of Unite the Union. Conference, I have worked in the NHS for over 40 years. I'm a trained nurse, midwife, and I now work as a health visitor in a Sure Start Children's Centre in the South East. I spoke to you last year about the challenges facing my profession, and I am sad to say that the situation is getting worse. When I first started nursing here in my own city of Liverpool, all those years ago, I really loved my job. I loved going to work every day. It was a pleasure. But now, conference, I'm sad to say, I can't wait to finish my working week. My profession, health visiting, remains under severe threat, and the service we are now able to provide is being eroded day by day. We face continual cuts, lack of resources, privatisation and overwork. Many of us are completing our electronic records in our own time just to keep up. We are under constant pressure to meet unrealistic targets and meet key performance indicators. And there is a definite fear culture amongst staff in the NHS if you speak out. This vicious cycle of pressure is often leading to ill health amongst my colleagues, with many going off with work-related stress. Conference, we have seen a staggering 20% drop in health visitor numbers since 2015. Other professions are faring no better. Pathology and pharmacy, mental health nurses, ambulances, estates and cleaners, NHS staff are all facing cuts and further privatisation. Private companies like Virgin Healthcare are hoovering up services. Conference, I did not become a nurse to line tax avoiders' pockets and make profits for private company stakeholders. I went into nursing because I wanted to work in a caring profession, and to be honest, conference, a little secret, I don't give a stuff about shareholders, but I do care about the lady on my caseload who came to me desperate in tears because her daughter's disability living allowance has been cut because she only has 10 fits per night instead of 20. Can you believe that? Across the NHS, unions like my own Unite are fighting back for the services that they deliver. And as my General Secretary, Len McCluskey, said in the economy debate on Monday, we need to kick the capitalists out of our NHS.
Thank you, Delegate. Thank you.
The only solution for our NHS is a radical socialist government led by our leader, Jeremy Corbyn. Let's go all out and make sure we go back to our constituencies and we make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Michael McNally. I'm the youth delegate from Makerfield CLP in Wigan. I just want to go back to the point Joe Anderson made about Carillion. A woman from Unison made the point before that, about WWL Solutions in Wigan. We held that back because the NHS needs to be under public ownership. It's for the people, not profit. But what I'm up here today to talk about is mental health provision in this country, because it is absolutely dire and disgusting. I suffer from anxiety and depression myself, and I can tell in my own experience that the services that are available basically constitute cognitive behavioural therapy. It's just not good enough at all. It speaks volumes when the Labour Party's had a health minister for mental health since 2015, and one still doesn't exist over this disgusting Tory government. It's just not good enough at all. Who is Jeremy Hunt to tell people what they should feel, what services we should access? We need better facilities. He is a disgrace to this country as a health secretary when he was a health secretary. But what we do need, as well as part of Labour Party policy, is we need people to work together on the ground in partnership instead of apart. We need the NHS wellbeing teams, local councils, community group and employers to work together to tackle mental health problems. We need more funding. We need more facilities, and we definitely need more support for people who are suffering, because it is just not good enough. We continue to walk over people with mental health, and that is so true of this Tory government. What we need is a socialist Labour government under Jeremy Corbyn that's going to be radical and help people with mental health issues for the better. Thank you very much, Conference, and thank you, Jonathan.
Before the next speaker, I'm going to take the last three from that side of the hall. So I have someone indicating at the front. Yep. Just to say, I know these are the last few speakers, and absolutely appreciate everyone that has spoken and has had their hand up. But if you have spoken the last couple of days, please, let's just give the last two delegates that I'm going to pick a chance to speak if they haven't spoken. So if you have spoken, so hopefully on that last corner everyone has not spoken, so I'm going to have to pick two people. Is that somebody with curly hair? Yeah. Last one, what can I do? Lady at the back with glasses, delegate at the back. Yeah. And sorry to everybody else who I've not picked. It's really, really hard. Oh, it was. The two delegates standing there, if someone's spoken before. Okay. Right. I've got my last three. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Conference. My name's Kindy Sandhu, and I'm a councillor for Earlsdon Ward in Coventry South. I was elected this May, where we kicked out the Tories after 22 years. And just a couple of more plugs. Please come to Coventry with City of Culture in 2021 and City of European City of Sport in 2019. Conference, what I wanted to talk to you about was the link between economic inequality and health inequality. I want to tell you about some important piece of research, national research, that was undertaken by an alliance of eminent think tanks, including Women's Budget Group and the Runnymede Trust. What they set out to do was understand how different ethnic groups, and women in particular, are being impacted by changes to tax, benefits, and the loss of public services. Even they were shocked by what they found. Not just that BAME women are likely to be among the hardest hit, but the distressing scale of the impact. Now, we all talk about austerity in terms of pounds, money. For instance, 37 billion a year in cuts to spending on social security by 2020. But do we know and do we understand the full reality of austerity and how it's affecting people's lives and their health? Well, let me tell you. I witnessed firsthand the upsetting dilemma facing a family in Coventry, where a mother spoke of her agony about whether to send their son to university or their daughter. They couldn't afford to pay for both, and I feel, Conference, that we all know too well how that story has ended. Conference, these are the silent losers. These are the silent victims of austerity. A young woman who wants to go to university but is potentially denied because of the gendered impact of austerity and her family's ability to fund both their children. Theresa May said she wanted to hold up a mirror to British society and reveal uncomfortable truths. Well, Prime Minister, let me tell you some uncomfortable truths. And that is many young people, and in particular young women, may never be able to realise their potential, may never be able to contribute to our society, and never be able to contribute to our economy because they are the silent victims of yours and your government's austerity policies, and there's no justice in that whatsoever. Thank you.
I'm standing here today principally because I had 21 years working in the pit, and I'm old enough to remember the creation of the National Health Service just after the Second World War. And the reason I'm still living is because of the treatment that I've had at the hands of the National Health Service that was set up by Nye Bevan and his mates in that wonderful government of 1945 to 1950. And that's why when we talk about Jeremy Corbyn and electing him to power, wouldn't it be wonderful to get somebody to mirror what happened in 1945? I hope that I'm still in Parliament, because I want to nationalise something every week. Wouldn't it be wonderful? When I said to me, Dad, I know this Clem Attlee, I said, he's the leader. I said, what about the rest, Dad? And are only 12 years of age. And he said he's got some good men and women around him. And we have today. The reason I'm speaking is because now we've got a front bench created by Jeremy Corbyn, arising out of that magnificent spurge in the numbers of people that joined the party. Now nearly 600,000 from 200,000. Blair and Brown tried to get rid of the debt. Harold Wilson tried to get rid of the debt. Jim Callaghan tried to get rid of the Labour Party debt. Along comes Jeremy Corbyn, and the debt has been repaid. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a Labour government to start making sure we repaid the debts of society as a result of these Thatcher and these tedious Theresa governments that we've had recently, together with the Liberals and now with the DUP. She actually hands out £100 million to every member of the DUP. It's like a Ronaldo payment. But we're here to talk about the National Health Service. And I have to tell you, I wouldn't be on this rostrum if I hadn't have been successful with a big operation in 1999. When I went in there and I was bleeding, passing blood, and I knew that I'd got a big problem, and I was treated by an Irishman with a wonderful Irish brogue, and he whispered to me as we came out of the operating theatre, I think I've got it all. You can't get words like that anywhere else. Those words were like magic to me. And that's because of a nationalised, publicly owned, National Health Service. I go to Parliament, to the Palace of Varieties, and I look across at those Tories, and nearly everyone has got private insurance. They were the people that voted against the National Health Service, not the exact people, but people like them in 1947, when they voted against it several times because they didn't want a publicly owned National Health Service. And look at the wonders they've been able to create. When I had a heart bypass in 2003, I'll never forget that steady hand of the doctor that found a way from my groin straight into my heart. I watched every movement. I thought, if ever he makes a slip, then that's the end. There'll be no more speeches at the Labour Party conference.
Good, thank you.
But he did it.
Thank you, Delegate.
And the result was that I'm still here. And then I had a hip replacement, and because of the wonderful NHS, I can walk backwards. Are we done?
Yes,
so I finish on this. I told the UKIP man in Parliament, I've got a United Nations heart bypass. I had it in the London hospitals. I had a Malaysian surgeon. I had a Nigerian registrar. I had a Dutch doctor. The list goes on. I had a Syrian cardiologist. And I told the UKIP man, if you send all those people back from whence they came, half of London will be dead in 6 months. That's it. Thank you very much.
No pressure.
Well now, conference. Absolutely no pressure, hey? First time at conference, first time speaking. I'm just going to step aside so you can see my shirt. As you can tell from my accent, I am from the North London constituency of Chipping Barnet, otherwise known as Easy Council Barnet. So I can imagine that you know what I'm going to speak about. I'm going to be brief because I'm sure that we are running short of time. I'm here to remind us about the emergency motion, about the building of the hospital in Liverpool. We have suffered under privatisation in Barnet. We have suffered severely under privatisation in Barnet. A man named John Burgess from Unison, I'm sure some of you know him, has been speaking about this for years and years and years, and I'm part of an organization with him, the Barnet Alliance for Public Services, and we have been fighting against privatisation. Privatisation is supposed to save councils money, and guess what? It doesn't save anything. Privatisation undermines our public services, and we have got to put a stop to it. So this is a message from us in Barnet, solidarity to you in Liverpool, and to everyone across the country. Be careful, be mindful. If they talk about privatizing, do not let it happen. You need to stop it from the beginning. I'll just give you a few figures, she says with her mobile phone. We are supposed to be saving money. The overspend in Barnet this year is 9.5 million. They predict an overspend next year of 19 million. And the year after that, 34 million. And by 21-22, 42 million overspend. Capita, I ask you, what have you done for us? You've diminished our public services. You have not saved us anything. So solidarity again to Liverpool. Thank you, conference. And thank you, Dennis, for speaking before me.
Hello Conference, Nikki Fitzgerald, Islington North, junior doctor, proud to have been on the picket lines 2 years ago fighting for a safe and fair contract. Thank you. I am here to make two pleas to the National Policy Forum, particularly in relation to the Health MPF. The first plea is about inclusion and equality, and the second plea for an integrated policy framework that will better address the social determinants of health. Let me first come to the question of inclusion. As a first-time delegate or visitor to conference, I have been delighted to see the disabled members, the women members, the BAME members, the LGBTQ members called to speak at this platform. However, I'm sad to say that that inclusion here is not reflected in the MPF document that we have. I'm specifically referring to a paragraph on page 61, which states, when planning new services, it is important that these groups are, and I quote, considered. This is not good enough, really. Inclusion should be a starting point for all policy, not an afterthought considered at the end. This brings me to my next point about an integrated policy framework. What struck me about reading the whole MPF is just how many silos it was. I was so excited to see that the health section was called Tackling Health Inequality. It's a particular passion of mine. But it left me feeling that some of it had kind of missed the point, because to me, tackling health inequality in a public health sense means addressing the social determinants of health, a concept coined and developed by Professor Sir Michael Marmot, who we are so lucky to have working down in London in University College. His work shows that there is a gradient. Health is on a gradient from rich to poor. And it shows that it is the conditions in which you are born, in which you grow, in which you are educated, in which you live and work, which determine your health far more than anything else, far more than anything I will ever do for you as a doctor. To put it another way, in our future Labour government, it is John McDonnell and John Healey, far more, I'm sorry, than John Ashworth, who will dictate our health. Sorry, John. Don't get me wrong, I have been amazed and inspired by the policy of all of these Johns, inclusion, but to maximise the potential for benefit to our nation's health, it must be integrated with public health workers in the Treasury, in the Department of Health, in education, everywhere. So, in the end conference, I really support and do welcome John's pledges. I also support the reference back because as a doctor on the front line, we urgently need a fully funded, universal, publicly owned, publicly provided NHS, free at the point of use for everybody in this country. But if we are rebuilding this country, if we are rebuilding Britain, as I'm hearing from conference we are going to do, let's do it right first time with inclusive and integrated policies. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. Did you feel the passion and energy in the room? Point of order. Where? Can't see it.
The one with the green scarf.
Oh, she didn't get to speak.
I'm Sue Hubbard from Wimbledon. I'm sorry to do this now, but there is a group of people whose voice has not been heard at this conference, adults with learning disability. They have been hit by austerity every which way, and so have their carers. I hope to speak for them,
Sorry,
but
delegate.
I've been denied this
Sorry,
opportunity.
Delegate. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Conference.
Thank you, Chair. Point of order, being that you've said yourself yesterday and today that you can't see the old order. Can I suggest next year that you have stewards around the hall picking people out? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. At the beginning, I apologise because I wouldn't be able to pick every person who's put their hand up. There's probably over 1,800 people in the room today. Absolutely appreciate the support that we've had and the request for people that have spoken before to not put their hands up again. But everyone that has spoken and hasn't spoken, we're here because we're members of the Labour Party and you're absolutely, every one of you are amazing. Your community actives making a difference. So I'm going to continue back to my script. Thank you. Conference. Our final speaker this morning is Dawn Butler. But before she addresses you, we have a short video. You didn't know that, did you?
First time I've seen that video, that was brilliant. Good morning, conference. Chair, conference, Dawn Butler, Brent Central CLP. Speaking for the first time as a shadow minister and speaking for the last time as a shadow minister. See what I did there? See what I did there? I want to thank the Equalities team, Carolyn Harris, Naz Shah, Baroness Anita Gale, for the great work they do in women and equalities, holding the Tories to account. Rebuilding Britain for the many, not the few. We know this is our vision. But what will this look like under the next Labour government? Almost all of our equality laws have been made under previous Labour governments. This Conservative government continues to destroy hard-won equality rights that Labour and the trade unions have fought really hard for. Everywhere we look, your rights are being eroded or removed. For far too long, the Tory government has treated equality as an add-on, an afterthought. The Tories have had 7 different ministers, tied on to 4 different departments, and a budget that's almost been halved. 2018 has been the year where the Tory government's institutionally racist policies have been exposed. The hostile environment and the damage they have done to the Windrush generation will never be forgiven, nor forgotten, nor should it be. My parents were invited here from Jamaica. They were confronted with signs saying, "No blacks, no Irish, no dogs." My parents worked so hard, and my dad never took a day off sick in his life. They paid their taxes, and they raised their children well, as I'm sure you'd agree. Now the Windrush generation, in their twilight years, when they should be enjoying their entire retirement, are confronted with, "Go home. You're no longer British. You are surplus to requirements." This could have been my parents. Shame, absolutely. This could have been my parents. After giving their blood, sweat and tears to rebuild Britain, they are discarded like trash. And this was no mistake or unintended consequences by Theresa May. Her hostile environment was by design. And sadly, And sadly, this hostile environment has not been reserved just for the Windrush generation. Under universal credit, women are set to lose £1,400 a year. And if you're a black woman, you lose even more. Older people have seen a reduction in services, with home visits lasting as little as 15 minutes. How many in this conference can wash, eat, and get changed in just 15 minutes? And don't forget the 1950s women cheated out of their pensions. Disabled people, you've been treated so badly by this government's austerity policy that the United Nations has said it is a systematic violation of your rights. Black, Asian, minority ethnic people, the government's own race disparity audit has highlighted that its own policies have a detrimental effect on you, from justice system to education and employment, and yet they still refuse to rectify it. People of faith, since Brexit, we have seen hate crime increase by 29%. And the LGBTQI+ community, the last 12 months have seen hate crime increase fivefold, with 45% of trans students attempting suicide. I could go on talking about the many things that mitigate against a fairer society, but I want to talk about what a Labour government would do. A Labour government will put equality centre stage. It will be the central thread across all of government. We will create a standalone Women and Equalities Department, which for the very first time will be headed by a Secretary of State. We will develop and deliver a national equality strategy, lead on reducing discrimination and inequality. Equality, this is enforced through all machinery of government. Labour will deliver a fairer society for the many. We will equality-proof all legislation before, during and after implementation, ensuring that no individual group is unfairly discriminated against by our laws. This would prevent another Windrush scandal ever happening again. Labour's new Equality Department will work alongside other departments to implement up to 10 days paid leave for those suffering from domestic abuse, change the law so that people can bring forward cases on multiple grounds of discrimination, strengthen the Equality and Human Rights Commission, integrate the United Nations Convention on Rights for People with Disabilities, ensure that British Sign Language be given full legal status, re-establish a Women's National Commission, launch the Emancipation Educational Trust, and supply free sanitary products in schools, colleges and homeless shelters to end period poverty. And conference. All of this will commence in our first term of office. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. How will we find time to sleep? Who needs sleep when the next Labour government will be the most progressive, aspirational government in this country's history? The privileged few and the mainstream media try to tell us that it can't be done. Don't believe them. It can. In reality, what is wrong with those at the very top getting a little less so that those at the bottom can get a little more? I wouldn't class that as radical, would you? A Labour government will rebuild Britain for the many, not the few. Conference. There are many people in our country who want to revolt against the cruel injustices of the Tories. But there are so many obstacles. They want their voices to be heard, but unfair obstacles overpower them. They want a better life, but at every turn, there's a different obstacle to overcome. Conference. I'm Labour because my parents told me how the Labour Party made them feel welcome when they came from Jamaica. Labour stands for fairness, equality, and justice. It is imperative that we are united and keep people like my parents and the many who desperately need a Labour government at the forefront of our minds, and the many who need us to overcome the obstacles the Tories have put in their way. This isn't just a question of spending money, it's a question of fairness. To build that fairer society, we must tackle all of those injustices. A fairer society should be judged on the basis that we measure success by the obstacles we overcome. Conference, the time to overcome is now. It is time that we overcome these obstacles if we are to fulfill our vision for the many, not the few. And conference, I believe we can overcome. Together, united, we shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep, you know where I'm going with this, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday, and someday soon. Conference, look around you, look around you. We are the many, we are the many. Actually, turn to someone, shake their hands and say, we are the many. We are the many. And there are many, many more. And they need Labour to make our country fairer, to level the playing field, to empower them, to break down the obstacles for them. Conference, let's be united and fight for a Labour government of the many and not the few. Thank you very much. Thank you. Love you too.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, let's continue. Conference, we will shortly have an adjournment to allow the hall to be prepared for the leader's speech. I'd love to say the man, the legend, the myth that, hey, let me go back. Better go back to the script, sorry. Before we do that, we must take the notes on today's business. Firstly, the emergency motion to build Royal Liverpool Hospital, moved by Unite. Can I see all those in favour of the motion? And all those against? Okay, I think that's carried. Unanimous. Okay, next, the reference back on the Health and Social Care Policy Commission annual report, which was moved by Chingford and Woodford Green, CLP. And that was page 57, paragraph 4, the sentence beginning, the NHS motion, and page 67, section on privatisation and the future of the NHS, paragraph 2, sentence beginning, a focus of the Commission in future will be. Can I see all those in favour of referring back these sections to the Policy Commission for further consideration? And those against? Okay. Next, the reference back in the name of Sheffield Hallam CLP of the section of Privatisation and the Future of the NHS on page 67 of the report. Can I see all those in favour of referring back this section? Okay, and those against? Okay. That's carried. Unanimous? No. No? No? No, okay. The next, the reference back of the section on social care on page 68, moved this morning. Can I see all those in favour of reference back? And those against? That's carried. Can we now vote on the Health and Care Policy Commission annual report on pages 55 to 69 of the NPF report, as amended by the references back which have been passed? Can I see all those in favour of accepting the report? And those against? Great, that's carried. We must also now formally vote on the National Executive Committee report. Can I see all those in favour of accepting this report? And those against? That's carried. Thank you. Conference will now adjourn until 12:15. You may remain in your seat if you wish. Don't move. Okay, and if you leave the hall and do not return by 11:55, please be aware that your seat may be allocated to someone else. We will need every seat in the hall, so think about it. Thank you so much, everybody.